darling. This is River Roaring, celebrating the luminous life force in us all. Hello, darling. This episode is Luminous Diet. Increase your luminous life force with what you choose to eat. I'm excited about this episode because this is a really big part of my life, and I can't wait to share more about it and hopefully find out more about you also. So, why do you eat? Why do you eat what you eat? Why do you eat what you eat? Why do you eat when you eat? Why are you eating when you eat? In the day or night? Every time you choose to eat food, why? Why are you doing that? This question has been very pivotal for me. I will share more about how I came to this question in just a moment. The standard American diet, which is the acronym is SAD, is indeed sad, as it's full of toxins and poison and addictive chemicals tailored by the food/chemical companies to get you coming back to their toxic and poison substance. What we're told is food in our groceries, in our restaurants, in the United States of America in 2026, when I'm making this podcast, is not actually nourishing, and thus it is not really food for the human body. So in our grocery stores and restaurants, it has become an epic tragedy what's inside those places. And I'm speaking of 95 or more % of the food in pretty much any grocery, including Whole Foods, and 95% of all the food served in all the restaurants in America, that it is not actually food. So when I go into the grocery store, I do not select very many things. I'm working with the 5% or less that is actually food inside that building, and I'm walking right past everything else that is nothing more than toxic chemicals. And I remember when Whole Foods was not public yet, and I got to live a few blocks from it. Over here in downtown Austin, Texas, the original Whole Foods was a postage stamp sized health food store, as were all health food stores in those days, very, very tiny. And the original Whole Foods was over here at Lamar, and I think it's 11th and 10th or 11th right there. I can picture it very easily. And I lived like 2 blocks up the hill behind it and would walk down to the tiny postage stamp Whole Foods market for my health food. And at that time, everything in that store was healthy, because small health food stores around the country would only be able to bring in staples and serve the staples of whole healthy foods to their customers. And then when Whole Foods went public, some of my friends were calling it Whole Foods Babylon. It's also called Whole Paycheck sometimes. For a while I was calling it Food Whole, but now I want to change how I see it, so I call it Holy Foods. But I still do not touch like 95% of what's in Whole Foods, because that is also poison and toxic. So that's where groceries have come to these days. And then the restaurant scene, my goodness, I've had so many great times in decades past in restaurants. I remember living in Austin, as I've lived here for 40 years, literally. I remember countless nights and days of just like, oh, let's find the coolest new restaurant in Austin and try it. So many places, and there's so much creativity and originality here in Austin that there were just always tons of new restaurants opening and fun places to try their food, maybe their drinks. And what a fun, really beautiful time that was in my life. And I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I got to do that when it was more healthy in the restaurants. And now there are literally 2.5 restaurants in the city of Austin, Texas, that I will eat the food and put it in my body. Maybe 2 to 3. Literally in the entire city of Austin, which has well over 1 million people around here. Out of all that, I will not put what is in most restaurants in my mouth because it is not food. That's what we've come to now. So, sadly, most of what is called food in the SAD, Standard American Diet, is actually not. And instead, it is toxic poison that's designed by scientists to be addictive. And so it keeps us coming back to it if we don't stand up. So the exciting news is that every day, millions of people are choosing to stand in sovereignty over their own bodies. You can exit the matrix, as have I, in food. You don't have to eat those 95% of things. You do not have to put them in your body. Millions of people a day are waking up and saying, I'll decide what goes in my body, not you, chemical companies and corporations. Millions of people are no longer doing what's expected and normal in our broken culture, because those expected and normal things in our broken culture are obviously causing the highest levels of chronic disease of any known society in human history in the United States of America right now. And millions of people are instead choosing health and luminosity. Because think about it, what you choose to put in your sacred body is all that your body has to make you. You know, that hit me so long ago, like, whoa, actually, if I'm just going to put toxins and poisons in my body all day long, then my body at some point is going to eventually just be made of toxins and poisons, because all it has, fabric, the only fabric it has to stitch me is the food I put in. And I see these sweet children, you know, eating just toxins and chemicals and think, how does their body take in toxins and poisons and create the miracle that is their growth into a human being? I don't even know. It's miraculous in and of itself that so many of us are still living while we try to take in all these toxins from our quote-unquote food supply. Your body has the delightful job of taking what you put into it and then creating from that fabric an endlessly complex and magical creature that is you. And so are you honoring that process with what you put in your body? So I want to share my journey with food and how it's impacted my own life force and my love and sex life over the past 37 years that I have been eating food differently than almost everybody I know. So my food journey is that I was born in the late 60s. I'm pushing 60 now in age and years and human count. And so I was born late 60s, raised and eating in the 70s as a kid and into the mid 80s in my parents' house. And in those years, our food was not yet poisoned to the level it is now. So my mom did not know about all these food exciting things that I know about food. My mom did not know those things. So she was feeding us what was then the standard American diet, but at that time it was so much more free of the poisons and the toxins that I'm so glad I got a chance to grow up with my little body growing without the toxins. My mom and dad were actually perceived themselves as very poor with money. And so it was really a result of that, I think, that banned us from having soft drinks. Because I know my mom would not let us have a soft drink as I grew up. And I also remember, or a Coca-Cola or something like that. No, we couldn't have those. And I also remember that because of my parents' perception of being poor, after we would eat dinner, my parents would say, no, we don't have enough money for dessert. You know, it seems kind of crazy right now. But actually, I think they were saving me into like a healthy body, actually, with their perceptions there. So after I left home and went to undergrad, which I really basically came to Austin after I got out of high school. That's why it's been 40 years. And once I got here, I realized I get to take charge of my own life. And I remember I was 21 years old when what fell into my hands was my cousin, who was older, visited and dropped the name, if not the book itself, Diet for a Small Planet. So I was around 20 years old when I came across the very first evidence that what everyone else is eating is actually not healthy. And it's called Diet for a Small Planet by Frances Moore Lappe. Lappe. What a classic book that is. And I came across it when I was around 20, and it started, in that book it says, and I'm not saying my diet is right for everybody at all. I'm just giving you information of how my path went. So in that book it says that actually the meat industry is killing the earth. It's not that we necessarily are not made to eat meat ever. It's that the industry of meat is killing the earth. And it would be easy to feed everybody in the earth if we ate a vegetarian diet. And she laid out all the ways that works. And that it's also healthier. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting in perspective. I'd never heard of this before when I was 20. I'm like, oh, interesting. She makes sense here. You know what I'm going to do? I was 21 years old and it was the new year. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to make a New Year's resolution, no meat. Just try it for a year and see if it feels good, see what happens. So I was 21. It's about 37 years ago. I made a simple resolution for the new year. Don't eat meat this year. And I remember the next day, it was New Year's Day, and I went to a restaurant with my friends. And I remember I had a pot sticker in my hand. It was a kind of Asian themed restaurant. And I had a pot sticker full of meat in my hand on New Year's Day. I put it in my mouth. And as soon as my lips touch it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm actually going to need to change my habits here. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just eating meat without even thinking about it. I'm going to have to start like noticing what I eat. And I put the pot sticker back on the plate and got some other food to eat that day that was vegetarian. And so for all that time, 37 years ago, I decided I'm not going to eat meat this year. And I'm going to be conscious every time I eat of what's going in my mouth. And I took a vow right then and there that I am never going to judge another person for what they eat. And I'm really glad I did that. Those have been vows that have stuck together for me pretty well. And so after that year started going through the year, I was like, wait a minute. I don't even want meat. I have never missed it for 1 hour since I was 21 years old. Not 1 hour, not 1 minute, not 1 second since I was 21, 37 years ago, have I ever wanted to eat meat again into my body. Never craved it. Once I just changed the habit of putting it in my body, I never craved it. And in fact, I remember my body lost like 5 or 10 pounds pretty much immediately. Just like, oh, boom, I'm just like a different body type. Boom. Almost immediately. And I felt great. And I also really came to love everything I was putting in my mouth. Like, ooh, this is so good. And it was toward that time when a friend of mine told me something I'll always remember, which is, River, as you clean your body with food and eat more cleanly, your tastes are going to change. And you'll actually crave more clean food as you eat more clean food. And that has proven to be absolutely true throughout all these decades. The more clean I get, the less I want the toxins and poisons. They just don't seem like food to me. And when I now currently smell meat cooking, I'm often just smelling the chemicals in the meat. It's like a chemical burn when I smell meat cooking these days. I can just smell all those pharmaceuticals and other pesticides and all the poison that is in the industry in our country that creates and generates the mass-produced meat that's called food. At this point in our country, that's not even meat that comes out of the slaughterhouses. That's a injected chemical pack. I'm not kidding around here. I'm being super real here in this podcast. So sometimes when I smell meat cooking, I'm like, whoa, is that rubber someone's burning? And then I'm like, no, it's a chemical plant. I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's like they're trying to make like a hamburger or cook a steak on the grill. Like, oh, okay. But it certainly doesn't do anything in my belly that's like a craving. That's quite the opposite. I actually want to kind of get away from the fumes sometimes. Although, witness my second vow to not judge people, so I do not believe I've ever made a comment at the table about anyone else's food plate since then. I don't think I've ever done it. Now, I would have a very different food plate, so especially this would come out when I went home to my parents' home, and I remember my dad making fun of me, like, it's the oldest joke in the world, but like, oh, River doesn't want to eat what we're eating. Just go out front and graze on the grass, River, since you're a vegetarian. I don't know if I've heard that 100 times or 1,000 times as a vegetarian, but it's like, thanks a lot, Dad. And in the meantime, I brought my own food, so I really love what's on my plate, and I hope you're having a good day too. Like, don't react when other people make fun of my diet and never make a comment about their diet. It's helped me a lot, I think, to stick to what I'm doing and not get in other people's business. So that happened 37 years ago. And that started me on a path of research and learning about natural health and the miracle that is the human body without toxins and poisons added to it. That without those toxins, my body can heal anything. So I do see food as medicine. I've learned to use food as potent medicine, perhaps the ultimate plant medicine, which I now see as youthing my body with every bite. So what I choose to put in are substances that actually might create a youthing experience rather than an aging experience in my body. I do not believe in aging into decrepit states. I don't believe in that. And I'm going towards 60, and I have never in my adult life asked for the opinion of a Western medical physician so far. Not one time in my adult life have I asked the opinion of a Western medical physician, which can tell you that I've never needed their treatment after all these years. I have not held health insurance, nor do I, nor would I invest in something I just don't believe in. I don't believe my body needs their help. I don't see it as help. I don't see it as advice I would follow, because I've done my own research into natural health and medicine now for 37 straight years. And I've done a lot of research. So along that journey, I had another point in my spiritual path where I decided I'm going to bring integrity to every area of my life, one area at a time. As long as it takes, doesn't matter. If it takes to the end of my life, that's a victory. So I turned toward food. I was already a vegetarian. And I was like, how would I bring the highest level of integrity to this diet? And I launched into a lot more research, more reading, podcasts, different things I could get my hands on. Podcasts weren't a very big thing at that time, but there were some broadcasts on the internet. And I did all the research I could. I read lots of books. I'm like, what is the most integrity diet for my body? I'm going to find that out and I'm going to eat that. And this research continues to help me grow on this journey every single year. So I'm constantly learning and refining, especially since it would be easy to learn the whole food scenario because it's kind of like a finite universe. What continues to be learning for me is more and more of what toxins and chemicals are going in, so that now I avoid this and avoid that more often because I know what's happening in that front. That's what changes more. Whole foods aren't changing very much. The poisons going into our food supply are getting more sophisticated all the time, so I continue to do research and learn. And I choose to honor my body as a sacred temple. I choose to never allow something to enter my body that I don't want in my sacred temple. And how does this deal with sex? How does it affect sex? If I'm eating toxic poisons and I'm therefore feeling sluggish, brain fog, lackluster because of the food I ate, when I walk into the bedroom to have sex, I'm sluggish, lackluster, and brain foggy. So it would kill a lot of the great experience I've had sexually because my body was healthy and energy was flowing really quickly through my circuits, and I have clean circuits and sexual energy flows so fast and so beautifully. And life force is creativity and it is sexual energy at its core. So my life force becomes much more luminous, and I have far greater sexual experiences because I have found the diet that creates the most high-level sacred temple inside my body, where energy can flow through a clean body quickly and beautifully, and I can grow and expand my life force, which is my energy circulation in my body, because it's not impeded by the chemicals and poisons and all of the Western medical ideas of what's health, which is usually making us more sick, and I don't put that in my body. Pharmaceuticals, no. Just no. Just no. I believe in my body's magic, sacred, innate ability to stay really young throughout my days on Earth here, and also to stay super healthy and vibrant and luminous without those other inputs. So what does this mean? Once I did that research, and now we're about in the range of 15 to 20 years ago. So 15 to 20 years ago, I went deep into the food research again. And what I concluded for myself is raw and vegan. So 37 years ago, I dropped meat. About 15 to 20 years ago, I remember when I fully made the decision to drop fish. I was actually in New York City in a hotel room on business. And I was in that, I can picture that hotel room in New York City. I was in the hotel room by myself listening to my food guru on a podcast. Couldn't believe I found it. I'm like, oh, Gabriel Cousins, my food guru's on a podcast. What's he saying? And he said something that's still with me, which is, when I put fish in my mouth and ingest it into my body, I am eating all of the emotional and spiritual stress and panic of a fish that's in a fish farm that is in a terrible cage all its life, that is in miserable conditions while it's alive, and then it starts headed toward its own death in the fish farm factory, and it sees the ones ahead of it dying, smells it, feels it, and it's flooded with panic, fear, and negativity. And at that moment, it is killed, right when all those hormones and chemicals are of panic and fear and darkness are just flooding its body. Then it's killed right then, taking all those chemicals and preserving. It's killed and preserved for my mouth. So it's now all those panic, fear, negativity of how it was raised, pent up darkness is all in that fish, chemically, hormonally, biologically, spiritually. And I was like, okay. All right, Gabriel, you got me on that one, my friend. Oh my God, that's it. I'm looking to purify anyway, and I'm done with fish. On the fish journey, it was like fast forward to about 5 years ago, to 10, and I was with a naturopath, or a Eastern Chinese medicine expert, and he said, you need to bring fish back into your diet somehow. That's what I'm noticing here. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll try that. And I remember I went to, at that time, Wheatsville health food store. And I remember I went to Wheatsville, which I don't shop at anymore in Austin for reasons. And I went to Wheatsville, and I remember opening the cooler that had the fish there behind the glass. I opened the glass door. I put my hand in and reached for and touched and picked up a package of fish. And I immediately had a wild shamanic journey in the subtle realms. And I was immediately flooded with this vision of this fish being tortured in this splashing water, and other fishes were around, and it was in a panicky, fearful torture state. And I dropped the fish. I let it go. And I'm like, no, my body has clearly let me know, no, there's going to be another way for me to get my nutrients from what this man is saying. I'm not going to do this. That was the fish journey. Along with that, with the intense research 15 to 20 years ago, I let go of fish. I let go of the dairy for similar reasons, and also for my body. I could tell that I loved cheese still. I still loved cheese, but I could tell that I was getting histamine reactions every time I ate it. And as of today, when I dip into a tiny bit of dairy, I get a pimple that minute, like 10 minutes later. I'm like, oh God, I did it 2 nights ago. I had some paneer in an Indian restaurant that's good. And I'm like, oh God. So today I am about 99% vegan. And on a few times a year in a social situation, I will join my friends with a tiny bit of dairy. I've had 1 egg like 2 years ago. So there's 99% vegan and about 80% raw. And so that was my really big discovery when I did all this research and decided to bring integrity into my life. My really big discovery was letting go of the rest of the animal products, but also raw food. What is raw food all about? Raw food is alive. And it actually makes a difference to my body whether I put life into it or death into it. And there's lots of research and all kinds of stuff about raw food out there now, these days. And for me, my body felt very alive eating raw. Now today, I would say I'm about 80% raw because there's an incredible vegan restaurant right next to my house that has the healthiest and the cheapest food, but they do cook a lot of it. It's technically a macrobiotic diet, and I'm eating more than I used to non-raw because of this very pure organic kitchen that only cooks with filtered water, and it doesn't have seed oils, doesn't have gluten in the food, doesn't have any animal product in the food, doesn't have any non-organic matter in the food ever in their plates they serve, and on and on. So like with all of these other things, I'm putting a little bit more cooked food into my body. But otherwise, I eat life. What would it feel like for you if you were like, whoa, even if for one day or 1 week, I'm like, what if I just ate life? When I eat life, life is giving me life force. And there's a spiritual side of this. There's also a scientific side of this, which is my body has something that I was born with called enzymes. So does yours. And one theory of life and aging and death is that I'm born, let's say, with a full tank of enzymes. And as my tank of enzymes decreases over my lifetime, when it's empty, I die. Like, that's one view of the way our body works. So I am born with a full tank of enzymes, and they tend to decrease over a lifetime in our world. And once they go to zero, I die. That's what enzymes do. When I go to eat cooked food, it doesn't have any enzymes in it anymore because they were cooked out. So when you cook food, and the enzyme crushing temperature is somewhere around 115 degrees. When you cook food above that, which is all cooked food, if you're not heating it to that level, it's actually called dehydrated food, which is different because it preserves the enzymes and the life force in the food. So when you eat cooked food, its enzymes are dead by the cooking. So when I eat a cooked item, my own body has to contribute my enzymes to digest that food, and I lose my enzymes a little bit. And if I keep losing them, I'll die sooner. So by eating life, the miracle of raw food and the miracle of life on earth here is that if I eat a organic raw apple, that apple has the exact number of enzymes inside it that it takes to digest it. So I eat life, and it doesn't take any of my enzymes from my body. And so I am mostly a raw food eater because I love eating in a way that youths, youths, youths me instead of ages me. And I think I see the evidence in my body that's been very healthy and full of vitality. So raw food doesn't age us. Cooked food ages us. Cooked food is killed and dead if you look at the enzymes, and raw food is alive, and I'm eating life. So it is it's keeping my youthfulness intact and not aging me. There is a deeper level here that has to do with sprouts. So whereas raw food keeps my enzymes neutral, sprouts actually give my body life and actually youth me. So there's a beautiful book by Ann Wigmore, Wigmore, called The Sprouting Book, and it's a thin little book. Ann Wigmore is known as the godmother of raw food. She no longer is alive today, but she started the raw food movement somewhere around like 1920 and wrote some books. And I love this little Bible book, How to Grow and Use Sprouts to Maximize Your Health and Vitality, The Sprouting Book by Ann Wigmore. And in there she explains that the sprouts give us youth. They actually reverse the aging process. Sprouts are miraculous in that they are in their baby stage of growing themselves, and they bring all of that baby stem cell kinds of growth into our bodies. And when I eat sprouts, I'm actually youthing my body. Studies have shown that sprouts give my body something that is very, very, very chemically close to the clean hemoglobin in my blood, the red blood cells. So it's almost like I'm eating clean blood and cleaning my blood with the sprouts. And even more than that, the Ann Wigmore, who is this woman who really started or founded or godmothered the raw food movement in the United States, she turned her hair from gray back to brown with sprouts. Literally reversing the aging process in her body. So of course I've been seeing if I can do that. I think that sounds so fun. I'm happy with silver hair because I think it's very pretty, but I love to see if my experiments are working and I'm youthing my body with sprouts. I almost every day have some sprouts. She also shows us in this book how sprouts are very inexpensive, how to easily create my own sprouts, which I think I need to do a whole separate episode someday about sprouts because they're so beautiful and there's ways to grow them I'd love to show you. And she also says in this book that sprouts have actually ended plagues. So there have been different experiments over our centuries of humanity that are recorded where a couple of 3 different occasions where the government was in, the whole country was in a plague and food was scarce. And the government chose to grow super cheap sprouts, which are super cheap. You grow the sprouts and give every person a half a cup a day of sprouts. The plague ended. And they couldn't find that result with any other food substance. So sprouts are even more healing. They're called biogenic in that they give life and youthfulness to the body. So these are some of the things I learned as I explored how do I bring integrity to my diet 100%. And I learned all those things. And since then, which has now been 15 to 20 years in this deeper level with raw vegan, I have really developed a lot of systems in my kitchen that are routines. So at almost all times, I have sprouts growing. I have a little pantry that I remodeled into my sprouting, dehydrating, fermenting closet. So instead of a shelf full of crappy sad food from a chemical company in my quote-unquote pantry, I have sprouting going on. So life is growing. I like to say I'm a microbiotic farmer. I farm biotically. I farm creatures that are too small to see, mostly, because I do a lot of fermenting in that closet, and I have my dehydrator in that closet. And I also have a little cooler for my natural wine in that closet. That's another topic. So I spend quite a bit of time in my kitchen sprouting, fermenting, and dehydrating food. And I've come up with some awesome recipes. So my proteins, which are very important to me, here's a public service announcement, is that all food is protein, carbohydrate, or fat. And everything else is like fiber or vitamins. So I got lucky as well. Part of my food journey is when I was in college, I could not stand chemistry and those kind of sciences because I was like, why am I having to memorize things I'll never learn, I don't care about? But at UT Austin, University of Texas Austin, they let me take a nutrition course as in the place of a science course. Therefore, it was taught like a science course. And I got some great information in that class. She definitely encouraged us to eat whole foods. And I learned that all food is either carbohydrate, protein, or fat. And then there's some like fibers that are to the side. So carbohydrates cover both the pastas and the breads. And also, all fruits and veggies are carbohydrates. They're all carbohydrates. So I get a lot of carbs in my meal, but never through breads and pastas and grains. Like, no, not really, unless they're raw grains like oats. I get all my protein through seeds and some nuts, mostly seeds that are sprouted and dehydrated, and lots of different fermenting. Fermenting radically increases the nutrition of the food. So I take only organic comes in my kitchen. I only have organic food in my kitchen, and then it's raw. It's keeping me from aging, and then I go further and I sprout it, which gives me youth, and I ferment it, which populates my microbiome with deliciousness and it radically increases the health of the food I fermented. And I like to dehydrate some more just for flavor and taste. So my pepitas have been called pure heaven, River's special raw, organic, sprouted, dehydrated pepitas, which is pumpkin seeds, and seasoned. They are really orgasmic, and that's a staple for me. So yes, I spend a lot of time in my kitchen, and I don't have a stove. I haven't owned a stove in my kitchen for decades. I just give it away or sell it, and then right now, in that spot where the stove would be in the kitchen, I have a commercial size refrigerator, because that's where I keep my raw foods and my ferments and my sprouts. So instead of a stove, which I do not own and haven't for so many years, I have more refrigerator space for all my raw goodness and my life-giving foods. So I've gone on for a while now and would love to extend this conversation in any direction that you find interesting. I've kind of just scratched the surface here. And I want to say, here are some pro tips of the day and things you can do to increase your life force with your food if you choose to do that. So I want to give a few tips depending on where you are. I also want to say that I recognize that every human body is different. You were born into a kind of human body that's not like my human body. So there are ways your ideal highest integrity diet might be very different from mine. And there are also ways that your diet might need to be different from mine based on your current body type. So a lot of people, for instance, my understanding is that a lot of people, their body cannot eat raw food and digest it well right now because it's more used to digesting the chemicals, and you need to titrate in the healthy food so that your body can start to learn to actually digest the healthier food. Some people have claimed, well, I need to eat meat for my body. My body's calling for that. And I honor that, and I would say, what kind of, quote, meat, unquote, are you putting in? So are you actually putting an animal that was breathing healthily and living healthily, and was their life taken with spiritual, sacred honoring of the gift of their life, and then it moves into your mouth? Because that's one kind of, quote, meat, unquote, to eat. And ideally, you've killed the animal yourself and dressed the animal yourself, and in prayer. Like I remember seeing in the movie Avatar, the first one, when she took down the animal. It was so beautiful and sacred how she blessed and thanked it. Is that the kind of, quote, meat, unquote, you're eating? Or are you going into a standard grocery store and picking up a slaughterhouse item that is full of all those other things I talked about? So even if you choose, well, I'm not like you, River, I eat meat. Well, I would still ask you, what kind of meat are you deciding to eat and choosing for your body? And even if you're like, I can't eat raw, I get indigestion, then I would say, well, what are you putting in? And how clean is it? Because the cleaner you can put the cooked food in, the cleaner the cooked food is that you're eating, the faster your body is going to heal itself so it can handle raw food. and life. And one of the most helpful books I've ever come across is by my food guru, Gabriel Cousens. Gabriel, Cousens. Cousens. Rabbi and Dr. Gabriel Cousens is quite a miracle. And his book, Conscious Eating, is probably still out there in the world. I know it is. And it is a tome. And it was published in, let's see, do I see a date? It's 2000. Might be the second edition. 2000 is the book I'm holding. Yeah, 2000 it was published. And it is like, when I got this book at, I think the original Whole Foods, it's 850 pages. And I was like, okay, this is probably full of good info, but I'm going to probably use it like an encyclopedia and just look up this and that when I need to. I don't think I'm going to actually flip the pages on this 850 page book and read it. And then I got home and opened it, and there he is with that first question, why do you eat? And I was like, what? I wasn't expecting this. Why do I eat? That's an awesome question. And it really pulled me in, and I turned these pages one at a time and read every word in this book and took it in. And so one of my pro tips of the day for you is that if you want to change your diet, do it in levels and steps. Do it in one thing at a time. Maybe it's one thing you remove from your diet. Maybe it's one healthy thing you add into your diet that you know is healthy. Maybe the first thing to do is some research so you feel like you know where you stand with your food intake. Gabriel Cousens' book, Conscious Eating, on page 427, brings in a leveling idea that I really enjoyed. So he says, stage 1, stop eating beef. And just do that. You could do it for 6 months, a year. Do it until you feel like, if you feel like, I'm just going to drop beef. Level 1, drop beef. See how you feel. If and when you want to go further, cleaning your diet, level 2, drop fish also. The flesh of animals and fish, drop all of that. Level 2, drop fish. If you want to. And even if you say, well, I'm still going to eat fish, I would ask the same question as the meat. What kind of fish are you eating? Level 3, develop a vegetarian diet. So going full vegetarian after your body got used to not eating beef anymore, and then your body got used to not eating fish anymore, it would be let go of the dairy and the eggs and make it full vegetarian. No animal products. That's stage 3. If you want to do it, it's just a tip of a way to do it. And then level 4 is what he calls the Olympic vegetarian diet. And I would say I'm on it. That one is just full of locally. We have a all organic, family-owned farm in my neighborhood in East Austin, Boggy Creek Farms. And yes, I buy food from the soil in my neighborhood, organic, fully organic, no pesticides, from people I know and love. I love the people who own this farm. And all that love is in the food I buy from that farm. And we also have lots of farmers markets every week in Austin. So there are other local farmers coming in to sell organic, grown in the region from the soil of my region. So I would say I'm on the Olympic diet. I'm only allow organic, almost all raw, almost 100% vegan into my body. And I feel like heaven. The food doesn't bring me down during the day. It lifts me up only. And I eat when my body's hungry. I don't eat those 3 meals a day that are in the Matrix. That'd be great if that's for your body. There's no problem there. But for me, it's not. I don't like to have a breakfast because I noticed when I tried to do that, it just weighs me down and enjoy the heaviness of a morning meal. So I'm first hungry around brunch time. And I eat when my body wants to eat, which is, yes, I have fasted and it feels amazing and beautiful. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on fasting and intermittent fasting. Yeah, absolutely. It feels great to be just burning those toxins in my body like crazy. So, my darling, a pro tip of the day is to take this in levels and gently remove a toxic item that you eat and make it a time frame, make it an experiment. Like, I'm going to remove this for X amount of time, 6 months, a year, 2 months. If you make a longer time, you'll get to see if your actual tastes change and your body changes in a way you like. So gently take a toxic or poison or addictive chemical item out of your diet, one at a time. Or add in something juicy, raw, and healthy and organic into your diet, one at a time, but like on a daily basis. And again, you can set a time period and just go at the end of the long enough time period, did my life change? Do I feel better every day? Is my sex life better? Do I feel like I have more energy to be creative every single day? And listen into your body. Don't listen to what everyone else is talking about quote unquote food, because they're running around to the poisons. And then another tip of the day is to really focus right now, today, on why am I eating? With every bite, go, why am I eating now? Why am I eating this? Is it midnight or 2 a.m.? When I did this inquiry, there was a lot of emotional eating going on. I was like, actually, I'm eating either because it's a externally told time to eat, which my body doesn't agree with, or I am eating to stuff an emotion or numb or distract myself from other things. And I was like, wow, that was a good question, because I don't want to eat for that reason anymore. I don't want to eat for that reason anymore. I'm not eating anymore for shoving my emotions down, for distracting from my actual growth and expansion, because someone else told me it's time to. I'm not eating because someone else told me it's what to eat. I'm not eating to do any of those other things now. When I go toward food, it's like, oh yeah, my body is wanting some delicious whole organic nutrition to fill it full of life force so I can keep on going. So, my other tip of the day, my darling, is to ask with every bite that enters your sacred temple, why? Why now? Why this? And I would love to hear from you. So I would love to hear, what is your experience with food inputs? Leave a comment or shoot me an email at riverroaring.com. If you go to riverroaring.com, shoot me an email through the Let's Connect button at the top, and I think at the bottom might be also a suggestions button that gets you straight to my email. So send your comments and questions to me about this, and also any requests you have for deeper dives into any topic that we unpack today. I definitely care how this lands for you, because I am on earth to support all who are called to bring maximum love and light into your lives, liberating self-expression in all the realms of life, including sexually, but not limited to that, where all is sacred, connecting with you to create a cosmic web of love and light throughout the realms. Just by you hearing my voice, we're connected in love and light. I'm putting love into the connection if you choose to receive that. And just by you listening to this podcast, you are connecting as well. We are a web. And together, we can step into a more harmonious vibration. We can fly higher together, shifting human consciousness forever for the highest good of all beings. So my darling, my beautiful, radiant darling, may the love be with you, and may the love be with us all.